All right, we live. Live. Thank you everybody for hanging in there. We have some technical difficulties. I don't know if y'all are aware or not, but we have a weak ass hurricane passing through, just enough to kind of mess shit up here on our end. And we had to take a few minutes to get some things right, but now we're on. So, real quick, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I'm going to have another guest on. Somebody who's been it's been in the works trying to line up the logistics to get them on to hear their story. I always like to bring on people, interesting people with a deep message to contribute back to society, especially men and young men. And thank everybody for tuning in tonight again. And thank you for being patient, for waiting on while working out these bugs in the system. So with that, as usual, another immensely interesting man whose channel I caught on just going through YouTube one night. And I happened to, it's one of these things that just come out of nowhere where I watched one of his videos and it just stuck. Then I'm watching all of his stuff. And this guy has had a very unique life experience and a very deep message to go with along why he started his YouTube channel. And so I'm not going to say too much. His name's Rickey Dye. He was incarcerated at the age 15 and tried as an adult in Oklahoma State penal system. And that's as much as I'm going to give you. So I'm going to turn it over to Rickey to let him tell you the rest of the story and how it went down. Thank you, Rickey.
So my name is Rickey Dye. And if you want to find me on YouTube, you just search my name. It'll come right up. I went to prison, like you said. I got locked up when I was 15 years old. I was a real popular kid in high school, but I was real poor. My family was poor, and I was ashamed of that. And so when I would go to school, I wouldn't turn down a dare. We got in this thing where me and this other boy, this 14-year-old, I had just turned 15. He was 14. And we got in this thing where neither one of us would turn down a dare. And someone dared us to rob a store. And this 14-year-old, he tells me that his dad lives in California. And if we can just make it down to where his dad will give us a fake ID and he'll give us $1,000 and he's going to give us a car. And then, hey, man, we're going to drive our cars back to town and everything's going to be all right. Then that shows you that we just had children's mind to think that you're going to go rob a store and do these things and you're just going to come home and it's going to be all right. That shows you we have very childish thinking. So when it all happened, coming up on it, we went to jail when we were in 9th grade on spring break. We got out for spring break on Friday night. And by 9 o'clock the next morning, we were locked up. We went that night. We were going to rob a store to run away from home. And we didn't plan to hurt anybody. That was never in the plans. But we were just scared kids. And I got the gun and I loaded it and I give it to this 14-year-old. I had a gun. I had guns that were given to me whenever I was 12, 13 years old because my family were from the country. We hunt. We hunt squirrels. We hunt rabbits. We hunt deer. And so I had been hunting all my life since I was a kid, and that's where the guns came from. So I loaded it up and I handed it to that kid. And that's something that I've regretted ever since that night was that I loaded that gun for him. I should have never loaded that gun. But I loaded the gun and I went into the store and I was supposed to be a decoy. Supposedly I was going to walk in the store. The guy at the counter is supposed to be watching me. There were no cameras back then. Back then there were no cameras anywhere. Now everywhere you go there's a camera. But I was supposed to go into the store and be a decoy. And then this other 14-year-old boy, he was supposed to come in the store and rob it and take the money. And he had a 30-30 lever action rifle. But when he stepped in the store, the guy behind the counter does this, sitting on a stool behind the counter, and he does this. And the 14-year-old, he turns his head and he pulls the trigger, and the first shot hits the man right above the left eye and kills him instantly. And I immediately went into shock. We have watched too many TV shows, man, and we didn't realize what real life, just how serious things can get in just a fraction of a second, man. You never stop to think that in just a few seconds of your life can change the rest of your life, especially when you're only 15. And I want to tell you that I never should have been in that store to begin with. I never should have been trying to rob no store. Never should have been away from home that night. I should have been in my room laying down watching TV. But I wish that if anything, I would have been the one with a gun because I know I wouldn't have shot the man. And when you're 50, I know that the law says if you're in the commission of a felony and someone dies, you're guilty of murder. And I understand that as an adult man. But at 15, I didn't realize that if we went in that store and Kenny shot that guy, I was guilty of murder. You know, I didn't understand that back then. But they locked up me and the 14-year-old and the 16, and there's a 16-year-old, and he was the one driving the car, but he never got out of the car and came in the store. But in the state of Oklahoma, if you're 15 or younger when the crime is committed, you have to be found as a juvenile. You have to be found as an adult before they can try you as an adult. But if you're 16, you're immediately an adult. You get one chance to be reversed to juvenile. So the 16-year-old went straight to county jail. Me and the 14-year-old, we went to the Berry House. It's a juvenile detention center. In about 5 months, the 14-year-old was certified as an adult, and he was moved to the county also. And then about a month later, I was certified as an adult, moved to the county along with the other two boys. Once we got in the county, you know, all along they were trying to get me to turn state's evidence because I was the youngest kid involved in the crime that wasn't the shooter. They wanted the shooter. They wanted the shooter, number one. And then they were trying to make a deal with me, but I didn't know what a rat was back then. I found out what a rat was once I got to prison. But it wasn't that I didn't want to be a rat. It was just that I felt like I was responsible. I felt like it was my fault that happened. I felt like I could have stopped them other kids from going there at any time. Thought, you know, at any time I could have told that 16-year-old, let me out of this car, take me home. I could have got out of that situation at any time. And maybe if I would have backed out, they would have backed out as well, and a man wouldn't have lost his life. And so that's the reason I decided to make videos on YouTube. Because most people, they wonder what happens to those kids once we send them to prison, right? What exactly goes on with these kids once we send them to prison? So I thought that I could go start my YouTube channel, and I started right at the beginning and shared all that, you know, what it's like to be certified as an adult. They take you in there, you do these tests, test your IQ, test your reality perception. There's a test called the Lawbach test. They'll show you paint blotches and ask you what you see. And they take your answers and decide if you could be held as an adult instead of a juvenile. How smart are you? Did you realize what was going on that night? Because see, all along we said we were only going to rob that store. No one was supposed to get hurt. But just because of my answers on the ink blot test, they certified me saying that there's no way that kid went in that store and didn't know what was going on. Which we didn't think that was going to happen. Nobody thought that was going to happen, or you know. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. Well, it's all right. So now, I mean, you just a normal country boy, hunting, fishing, playing sports, going to school, doing your everyday thing. Maybe getting a little mischief like any teenage boys do. I mean, you plan out this grand scheme, this robbery where you're going to go in and innocently scrape up a little bit of cash to go live the dream in California. Next thing you know, you want a murder charge.
Yeah.
And so not only are you in a murder charge, you're not going to juvie. You're going to a pen, well, a level 4, right? You said? So,
I started off at medium and ended up in maximum. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit what that was like, going into processing and like going in your first night in prison. Like you going into a big boy jail. Like this is you going in with grown men, career criminals who've had a lifetime of criminality and dysfunction and craziness. You're just an innocent kid who was a part of it was silly and harebrained looking back on it. But like personally, I don't think you could send a 15-year-old to a max prison, even a medium, you know, and exposed to all the things that you could be exposed to and a potential for all the danger you're in immediately. And under the care of the state, which we know, and I'm sure you have a lot to talk about as far as how incompetent state employees are. I mean, look, knock on wood, and by the grace of God, I never wound up in prison. I'd gotten away from doing a 30-year federal sentence when I was 18. And I look at people who've done less and wound up with more of a consequence, but I have very limited experience with what it's like being locked up. I've been there a lot, but not long periods of time. But I can tell you one thing that has always stuck with me, and I hear it's a common thing, is being in the care of the correctional officers, the guards, and like they just really like that's. I don't want to disparage our correctional officers and our law enforcement system, but these are mostly like the people who couldn't make it in law enforcement, and kind of like, what is the criteria? You have a GED to.
So yeah, I think that's it. You have to be able to pass a little physical test, I think.
Yeah, but
let me tell you that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Breaking up a little.
Real quick point, and you can get back. Yeah, I know we're going to have a little delay, so we'll just keep an eye on that. It's okay if we step on each other a little bit. But
all right.
These people in a ratio of guard to inmate or convict is so small, and this is you're responsible. They're responsible for the care of a population of men.
Yes.
And I've seen guards come outright and say, look, if I see you getting beat down, I'm not coming to run in there. It's not my job to save you. It's my job to make sure you don't escape. So at 15 years old, you going in to the Shark Tank.
Yes.
So tell us about
that's exactly what happened.
Tell us about going in there. What was your first night like, and how did that unfold?
So, when they first, keep in mind that when I finally got, the first yard they put me on was Lexington Correctional Center. It's a medium security prison in the state of Oklahoma. That's the first place I went. I went from the county jail to A&R, where once I got to A&R, they shaved my head. They make you shave your face, which I didn't have no hair on my face. And they shave your head, make you shave, and they take pictures of you, and then they have a little waiting period until they ship you wherever you're going. And let me tell you, brother, that on the yard they send me to at Lexington, they have what's called Buzzards Row. Buzzards Row is where these older convicts that are doing life sentences standing outside the law library, in front of the library and the law library, in a row up against the wall, waiting for new people to come in. It's just like some shit almost you see on TV, bro. Like, you don't hear them saying new fish or calling you any names or anything like that. They don't do things like that. But they'll immediately push up on you, though. Hey, do I know you? Where are you from? Do you have any family in the joint? Just anything that they can try to say to get up to start the conversation. So something that people don't understand about prison is that usually people don't just run up on you out of nowhere and start jumping on you, man. That's not how it works. People want to get to know you. They want to know how you're going to react. People don't just push up on you because you might have a lot of friends. You might be an axe murderer. You might be a bad son of a gun. Nobody really knows until you start talking. Then people can pick up on what kind of person you really are.
Well, Ricky, let's stop you there.
Okay.
So what you're saying is these old men, these lifers, career criminals, they're master manipulators.
Yes.
Like keen, very intelligent manipulators.
Yeah, that's all they got to do. And they're never getting out. And you gotta keep in mind that these guys, they're trying to get somebody to love, dude. They're not trying to just get somebody to have sex with. They want to have a relationship. These people are never getting out. They're trying to fall in love with you, dude. They want to have a relationship with you. And a lot of them, they'll try to pretend like they're the man trying to get you to be the girl, but in reality, they will go both ways with you. But see, in prison, it's looked at differently than out in the world. Out in the world, nobody cares what sexual orientation you are. Like, I could care less what sexual orientation someone is. But in prison, it is a big deal whether you're the one pitching or the one catching. If you're the one pitching, supposedly that's okay. It's the one catching that is the one that is always belittled and treated like he's less than, because basically he's submitting to other men. Okay, let's just say that. So that was one of the first fights I got in. Was I had just come on the yard. The first night I got there, brother, you asked what the first night was like, first day. I got there in the evening about 7 o'clock. This one guard's walking me across the yard, and I'm carrying my mattress. I got a blanket and some sheets and a pillow. That's all I got besides my boxers and my t-shirt and little, we have outfit like what you see doctor and nurse wear, those scrubs. Usually they'll be kind of tan colored. And while the guard's walking me to the unit, he's telling me, man, you need to be careful in here as young as you are. You know, you're going to have a lot of people hitting on you. He's trying to give me the lowdown, this guard is. And I'm saying, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. So they take me up to my cell. Well, as he meets this other guard, I hear him tell this other guard, keep an eye on that kid. He's probably not going to make it tonight. That's what he said about me. Keep an eye on me because I probably wouldn't make it through the night. I went up to my cell and I put my mattress down. And okay, so when you walk in the building, there's two sides to that building. There's the west side and the east side. My cell was in the east side, and there's like 20 cells in there. And then right in the middle is a booth where the police sit. That police sits in that booth right there, and then there's phones on the wall. I just got out of A&R. While you're in A&R, you can't call home. So my mom ain't talked to me since I was in the county jail. The day they come tell you you're pulling chain, you can't make a phone call and tell your family where you're going because someone could try to help you escape. So because of security reasons, you can't let your mom know, hey, I'm going here, I'm going there. She don't find out till you get where you're going. So when they pulled me up out of county jail and sent me to A&R for 30, 40 days, my mom couldn't get nothing from me. She was just going out of her mind. And I've had all kinds of people reach out to me through my channel about that. Their family will be in A&R and they can't get a hold of them and they're worried about them. Are they getting their meds? So I will say, as far as your meds and stuff, as far as all that goes, they will get you what you need. But if you're handicapped in any way, you're not getting anything special. They may give you the bottom bunk if you've got a peg leg or a bad back. But other than that, the Department of Corrections is not set up to take care of handicapped people. They're not there to take care of you. You know, basically, like you said, they're there. Them guards, they're only making a little amount of money, bro. They're like anybody like me and you. If you got a GED and you can pass a little physical test, you can be a guard. And sometimes you get these guys that they never got along in school, they never had no friends, and now they got a little power and they try to wield it. You know, you get guys like that. But you also have good people that come in who really, it depends on how the inmates treat them. I've seen guards come in and they're new. Everybody's kind of kicking it with them, treating them nice, talking to them. That guard ends up being all right. Get another guard comes in there and everybody's calling them a bitch and this and that. And that guard ends up being an asshole. So I've found that with the guards, as well as any other of the inmates, it always depends on how you treat somebody. If you show someone respect, you usually get respect in return. And if you show disrespect, then you usually get that, you know, but isn't that just how life is?
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, my limited experience has all been, in Louisiana, we have parishes. It's not counties. We don't call them parishes. Counties. There's a heavy Catholic influence from the inception of, the Louisiana Purchase and all its Catholic influence. Everything is broken up in parishes, not counties. So when I say parish, that's what I mean. I'm talking about my county. And the times I've spent has all been in parish time. And I've experienced the mistreatment of these power-hungry assholes. Matter of fact, one of the guys who was the worst was somebody I did go to school with, and he was the fat kid who got picked on. And inside the walls, he was a prick.
Yeah, I know he was.
Oh, man. Like, so, if you mouth off to him.
Yeah.
If you mouthed off, you had it coming later. They'd take you in this little area and put the fire hose on you. Where they undress you. They'd make you do, bend over, open your ass, lift your nuts, open your mouth. They'd make you stand in there, handcuff you to the handrail, and hit you with the fire hose. And that's just, you didn't really have to do anything but look at this guy sideways, like he was waiting to abuse somebody. And you got to think about that. And how many, but they did have good guys who had, as long as you treated them right, you didn't get in trouble with them. You come in, you got your tray, got your store, they bring your store in your bag, and they were respectful. They'd wake you up in the morning, give you time to clean. But no, anyway,
So, hey,
So
that first
you,
night, brother, let me
mhm.
finish that first night. I told you the guards, they're both watching me saying that I'm not going to make it through the night, right? And there's like 10 black dudes in my day room. They all go over to my day room by where my cell's at. They're all trying to talk to me as soon as I get off the phone. And dude, I was so fucking nervous. I tell you, I was in a cell the first night by myself, and I didn't even have a cell partner. I just went up there and locked my door and stayed in my cell the rest of the night. That shit was horrible.
I'll bet at 15, 16 years old,
Yeah,
no kid that age belongs in prison. I can't reconcile with that. I can't.
yeah, I was scared shitless, bro. And that's why I
And
make the
frankly,
videos.
yeah, well, you got a great message. And I think it's important that you tell these stories. Personally, I think it's entertaining and very interesting. But the underlying message is this is what you have. Because let me tell you something, out in society, nobody's telling the real prison experience. The only prison information you get is off of movies. And anything
Mm-hmm.
from a movie is going to be inaccurate. They're going to have some
Yeah,
similarities, but it's never going to be as detailed. It's not going to be depicted in great detail as much as a guy who's actually lived through it.
yeah.
And you pretty much,
Something on movies, I've seen on movies. You see when they riot, you always see them throwing the toilet paper out on the run. They're setting the toilet paper out and throw it out there.
yeah,
Brother, you get one roll of toilet paper a week.
you ain't giving it up.
You wouldn't throw, hey, that shit's like gold, bro. You hear me? You ain't throwing that shit on the run. Shit, you get a roll a week. You think you're throwing that shit out there? Hell no. But let me tell you something else, man. People think if you go to prison, you get raped, right? And let me say that does happen. I have seen that happen. But more likely, it's going to be a mind game. They're going to try to trick you into doing something on your own. They're going to try to get you to do it any way they can. One way they'll do is a lot of times these older convicts, they'll already have a homosexual, or they'll be messing with one, and they'll try to stick him on you. See if you'll let him give you some head. I mean, I'm sorry to say it like that, but I don't know how else to say it. So they'll try to stick this homosexual on you because they think if they can get you to do that, you'll do more. You know what I mean? Maybe if you'll pitch, you'll catch. That's how they look at it. Maybe they'll, maybe say you just came in the tank, and if I liked you and I wanted to get with you, maybe I have a couple of my partners run over and beat you up, rob you of your canteen. Then I'll come over there and tell you everything's going to be all right, and I'll go get your canteen back for you. You know what I'm saying? Then I come walking back with your canteen and let you know, hey, I just took care of that for you. Those guys aren't coming back over here ever, as long as, you know what I'm saying? As long as you do what I need you to do.
Right. That's one of the things that was told to me when I first went in. I never got locked up until I was 18. I turned 18 in July. In November, I was locked up. And they had this old head that knew my mother and father. He was in a federal wing. And he said, first thing he told me is do not take anything from anybody under any circumstances.
Number one rule.
He said, I don't give a shit if you're starving and they got the best looking pack of ramen noodles or a honey bun. Don't take it. He says,
yeah.
Once you eat that honey bun, it's gone. And if they ask for it back, you don't have it to give to them.
That's right, man. That's right. People think I'm just cracking a joke about that. This one guy, he'll give you a candy bar.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it with a guy giving cigarettes. We could smoke in jail at the time. And this guy had a bag of buglers. And this new guy came rolling in. I was there for about 2 weeks. He had nothing. And it looked like he was withdrawing from alcohol or drugs or something. He was in a hurt locker. So he stayed in the cell for about 2 days, came out, and the guy under the tier captain, we had tier captains where one guy kind of ran everything. He had a little store. Well, they had like a co-captain. And this guy was a piece of shit. Like you could tell he was up to no good. I could tell from the day I met him. Like this guy is not to be trusted. And he goes out, offers the guy a cigarette, like harmless, like a little bitty pin cigarette with barely any tobacco in it. That's how they did it. And he tells this guy, man, if you need anything to get your money in your account, here, I got you covered. Here, you want a cigarette? I said, yeah. The next day, he said, yo, where's that cigarette?
Yeah.
And the guy said, well, I haven't got my stuff yet, but it's on order. My money hits him. He goes, no, I don't want I want my cigarette back.
Yeah.
And he didn't have it to give back to him.
Yeah.
He smoked it. And that's what he said. He smoked it. And he said, well,
That's how it goes, man.
I want my cigarette back. And this dude was in a fucking trap. There's nothing you can do at that point.
Yeah.
Now you under pressure from the rest of the time you're there. Now you either got to fight this guy or you're going to submit. And that's what these manipulators do. They put you in a situation where they scare you so bad that they could just pretty much take anything from you, including your ass.
Yeah, and you've lost the fight before the fight even started if you're afraid. Okay, let's just be honest about that. If you're afraid of somebody, you've already lost. And you talk about, I talk about the manipulation, you know, the different ways that they try to manipulate you into doing something. Like they'll do something like, say, this guy comes, pulls you up like we're friends. We're going to get high together. We go in the cell. We put the curtain up. Okay, so there's a little window in every cell, no matter what prison cell you're in. You got a little window. And whenever you get ready to go take a shit, you or your cellie need to use a cell to take a shit. You go in there and lock the door and you put a curtain in the window. That means somebody's in there taking a shit. Okay? So when you get ready to go smoke weed, say I pull you up, I buddy up with you, we're smoking weed. We're going to go in the cell, so we put our curtain in the window, pretend like one of us is shitting while we get high, right? That's how people get high together. But say it's a white guy, young white guy, and he's doing it with an older black guy that likes homosexuals, but this young white guy just trying to get high. You know what I mean? This black guy's, hey man, come here, I'm gonna get high with you. So he goes in there and they put the curtain up and get high together. Now they're not in there having sex, but once they come out of the cell, this older guy goes and tells everybody they were having sex. So now everyone thinks he's doing it, even if he's not. You see what I'm saying? So eventually he's getting so much pressure on him. Everybody thinks he's doing it anyway. You see what I'm saying? And the next thing you know, he's pressured into being a punk.
It's all a game.
Mind game. Manipulation. Fear is a bad motherfucker, brother. Fear can lock you up. Paralyzes people. It sure does.
So, you know, I wanted you to quickly tell, because you said in the beginning, talking about your first place was a medium. Like, explain, because most people don't understand low, medium, camp, max. Tell people about a medium.
Okay, so if you go to a minimum security, there may not even be a fence around that place. Okay, if you go to minimum security, there may not even be a fence. There's jobs you can get in the community, picking up trash, working on the road. If you're in medium security, there ain't none of that. If you're in medium security, you're considered a high security inmate. There's a fence around it with razor wire. There's two fences always, not just one. There's always two razor wire fences, or sometimes there's concrete wall with razor wire on top of it. And that's always going to be that way in medium. And people don't realize just how hard it is. I mean, just how easy it is to end up in the worst fucking places in this state. So you can get maybe for checks, maybe you get a DUI, something small, and you go to a minimum security. And you go to this minimum security because you haven't really done that much of a crime. You're not with the murderers and the rapists and the killers and everything yet. But then you decide to smoke a joint with somebody. And that dirty UA gets you sent to a medium. And then you're in there with the big boys. So I was on the medium yard right off the bat. And there's these Indians that were getting weed in through visitation. And I lived on the bottom run on this side of the day room, and they lived on the bottom run on this side of the day room. And the guards come, and we just got back from visit, and they're over there messing with their weed and stuff they just got in. They're over there capping it up. That's what we call. You take a plastic kitchen glove, you fill a chapstick cap up with weed, you dump it down in that finger and tear it off, and that's a cap of weed right there. So they're over there making caps, and I'm in this cell over here on this side of the stairs, and I'm sitting in there getting ready to smoke a joint with my buddy just after visit. And I see the guards come down the stairs. They come down the stairs headed over there to those Indians' house. All of a sudden, one of them Indians comes running out of there. So I just stepped out there and let him give it to me, and I take off running with it. So because I took off running with that weed, I go out there and act like I throw it over the wall. Then I just turn around and sit down on the stairs. Police come cuff me up, take me up front to Central, and they go around the wall to get that weed, but it wasn't over there. I dropped it on this side. So while they were over there looking for it, the Indians come picked it back up and walked off with it. So we got away with the whole damn thing. But these Indians, because of me doing that for them, I got a write-up for that, for running from the police. And I got a Class A write-up and lost good days and went to level 1 for doing that for those guys. So from then on, they pulled me up. The Indians did. Wanted me to be with them, the Indians, because I grew up believing I was a quarter Indian, quarter Choctaw and 8 Cherokee. And I said that when I was in prison, and the Indians wanted me to be an Indian. But I'm like, no, I'm white. You know what I'm saying? I'm white, so I'm going to stay white. But I'm part Indian. I'm not ashamed of it.
Well, how about this? And then now that you're talking about white, Indian, black, and another thing people don't understand is prison politics. And I know, like Oklahoma, I know the West Coast is notorious for segregation. Yeah. How is it where you ride with your race, right?
Yeah, you have to. There are every now and then you do get a white guy that wants to be a gangbanger, that wants to be a Crip or Blood, because it's the thing is, prison is so different than the world, bro. Out here in the world, racism is not a big thing anymore. People aren't racist. It's nothing to see a little white kid and a little black kid walking together. That's nothing to see that nowadays. They grow up together. They're together in school. The world isn't racist like it used to be. And so there's a lot more togetherness. But when you get to the prison system, all that goes out the window. If you're not, I've had black people and white people tell me that prison will make you racist because everything is that way. So let me tell you, as soon as you walk into chow hall in a medium security prison, the first thing you see is there's all the whites are on one side and all the blacks are on the other. And that's all there is to that. You're going to go sit with the white guys, because if you sit with the black guys, the white guys are going to be on you and the black guys will be on you. If you're black and you're over here trying to hang out with the whites, all the blacks will be on you. So it doesn't just come from the whites and it doesn't just come from the blacks. It comes from everyone. Every race sticks to their own. But these Indians, they had me pulled up.
And it's not even a bad thing. Like, nobody looks at you any less. Like, the black guys don't look at the white guys, oh, you racist motherfucker, or the Spanish or Indian.
No, that's only out here, man.
It's just normal. Yeah.
That's only out here. So prison is more just, there's not so much of a gray area in prison. Out here, there's a lot of gray areas, man. But in prison, everything is black and white. Like, you either are or you aren't. You're either a killer or you're not a killer. You're either a rat or you're not a rat. You're a chomo or you're not a chomo. You're a catch out or you're not. But there's no in between. Like, that's where you get in trouble with trying to pretend.
People might not know what a chomo is.
A chomo is a sex offender that has messed with someone under the age of 18.
Yeah, child molester, right?
Child molester, yeah.
And they don't have a good life in prison.
No, they live in fear. They live in fear. And people say, so I've had some people say, oh, bullshit. No, they do. They live in fear. Let me tell you that there are a couple yards where they're protected, Joseph Hart being the main one. If you go to Joseph Hart, man, that place is full of child molesters and rapists. Almost the whole yard is that way. And they don't let you on that yard unless you have a lot to lose, unless you're close to going home. They want you to have a lot to lose, because if you mess with one of them, they're going to rack you back. They protect them. Because let's just be honest, bro, when you're found guilty of a crime, the punishment is being locked up.
Right.
You're not supposed to have to get beat down every day too, right? I mean, we kind of all want to change the rules for the child molesters, right? But it's still, the rules are the rules. So the guards protect them.
Yeah, and that's mind-blowing. Anybody who touches kids or harms kids, it just don't get a pass with me. I have no fucking sympathy for what happens to you.
Me too.
And the rest of your life, I could care less. And I think anything bad that happens to you from that point, you deserve every second of it. And the sickening thing is our Department of Corrections, which is absolutely in disarray. We don't have a Department of Corrections. We got a place to stick people we don't want on the street. They don't do anything to help them improve.
That's
they
right.
Don't do anything to help them improve their quality of life, reacclimate back in society, come back and contribute. It's like a criminal school. You go in there as a 15-year-old, you come out 20 years later, you could probably rob a damn bank, and from all the stuff you've learned, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't know how to be a criminal until I went to prison. When I was 15, I had never done nothing wrong. I was nearly a straight A student, man. That was the first time I ever got in trouble. And I went to prison and got educated on how to be a crook.
And that's my whole
You
point
know?
is that
Yeah.
they'll let a young 15-year-old they could keep you there and say, look, maybe this guy had a hard go of it in society. Let's put him into a program, get him educated, teach him a trade. So when we put him back out in society, he's going to be a contributor. He's going to have learned his lesson. He's going to understood, what he did was not right. And he paid his debt to society by going to prison and making himself a better person when he comes out. And,
Yeah.
but instead they protect people who harm kids.
Yeah. And it's not about rehabilitation, brother. It's about retribution. You did something and we're going to make you pay for it. You did something, we're going to make you pay for it.
It's not what it was supposed to be. Penitentiary comes from the word penance, to pay your penance.
Yeah. And you got to remember, most of these people are going to get back out and be your neighbor. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's awful, because I've met people who've genuinely, just like yourself, have made a grave mistake at a young age, some bad decision making, wrong crowd, a tough upbringing, but genuinely they're not bad people. They just made a bad mistake, and they have to suffer that for the rest of their lives. And I've seen people come out who've gone to prison come back unrecognizable, like extreme anxiety, post-traumatic stress.
Let me tell you, brother, let me tell you that it was hard going to prison at 15. You can imagine, but it wasn't near as hard as it was to get out at 35.
Golly, I couldn't imagine what that was like.
Getting out at 35 after missing 20 years was, brother. When I went to phone, when I went to prison, we didn't even have a phone in our fucking house. People had landlines. My mom didn't even have a phone. I got out and people had cell phones. I had a cell phone for 3 days and couldn't figure out how to turn it on. I was embarrassed to ask anybody. I pushed every button, it wouldn't come on. I didn't know you had to hold it down for 3 seconds. Yeah. It took me 3 days to learn that. You know what I'm saying? Whenever we first got out, the day that I got out, my mom and them got me in a van. We're driving me home. It's a 2-hour drive from the prison. I had them stop. First thing I wanted to do was go in a convenience store and buy a pack of cigarettes, because I wasn't old enough to buy cigarettes when I got locked up. I just wanted to buy a pack because I could. We went in there and I bought that pack of cigarettes. We went to the bathroom, and my brother used the bathroom and left me in there, dude. I couldn't figure out how to make the water work or get the napkins to work because they were motion detected. So as hard as it was to go in as a kid, dude, it was way harder coming out at 35 with no job experience, no credit history, never been with a woman in my life, never drove a car. At 35 years old, I was a virgin that had never drove a car.
Complete culture shock. It had to be sensory overload. Like, where the fuck am I and how do I do this?
Have you ever watched that movie where 20 years passes like that? That's what it was like, man. It's like I was stuck in a little bubble for 20 years. Stuck in a time capsule. Yeah. It's been very difficult. But let's set up for me to fail, bro.
Well, yeah, I truly believe, and that's part of the broken justice system we have, I believe, is that these guys who, look, in my opinion, you commit a crime, you go do your time, we're even. You've paid your debt.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. But, brother, do you know of anybody else that did 20 years from the age of 15 and they've been out 15 years now, staying out of trouble? The reason you don't see any of them people because there ain't none. No. You know, I give all the credit. Like right now, I'm going through problems with my wife, but I give all the credit to my wife and my mother for keeping me out here. Because there was times I was with my wife in places where I lost my cool. I reverted back to that prison way of thinking. You know, someone give me an eye or said something wrong to me, and I want to fight about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm go back to thinking like I'm in prison again. And she would grab me and walk me away and remind me, hey, you want to go to bed with me tonight, not in some prison cell. You know, she would get me away from those certain situations. So I give a lot of credit to her and my mother for that, because, you know, also I just couldn't do it to my mom again, man.
I couldn't imagine you. I'm sure at 15, you never had the intention of somebody losing their life and you put your family and yourself through 20 years of hell. I can say with certainty that was never your intention.
Yeah, never dreamed.
If you don't mind talking about it, rewind back a few years into your stay. Have you had to defend yourself violently with or
Oh,
without a
absolutely.
weapon.
Absolutely, brother. Let me tell you, I had someone try to rape me. I had a guy, he was a black guy, called him Big Youngster and called me Little Youngster because we'd be playing basketball all the time. That's where I met him, on the basketball court. We played basketball together every day, talk shit on the court. He's acting like a normal old guy, you know what I'm saying? He's been locked up for about 15 years at this time. I just got locked up, but we play basketball together every day. One day he asked me if I want to get high. I had just started getting high. I had never been high in my life till I was in prison when I was 17 years old. I smoked my first joint. People went and helped me get joints so I could pay for it and we could smoke it together. They was using me for money to get high. And so at least I was getting high right along with them. So one day I come back from visit. Me and this black guy, we've been playing basketball together every day, and we'll go in the cell like I talked about. We'll put the curtain up in the cell and smoke us a joint, and then we'll go play basketball. Well, this day I just got back from going to visit. Still have my visiting clothes on. He says, hey, man, come on down here. So I go down to his cell, go in his cell, and I sit down on the bunk, and I pick up a book so I can roll the joint on it, so I can break the weed up and roll the joint. And he locks the door and puts the curtain up. And now keep in mind, we've been doing this every day. Same exact thing, putting the curtain up, smoking weed. But this time he puts the curtain up and turns around and says, you know what time it is? And I said, hell yeah, it's time to get high. He said, no, you know what's up. People have been telling you that I like you. I'm like, well, we're fucking friends. Dude hauls off and hits me in my mouth, bro. Tells me pull my britches down. He hit me in my mouth, dude, and he stopped and looked at me and said, I was sitting down, right? Hit me in the mouth, bam. I was just shocked at first, dude. I was in shock. I couldn't believe this dude just fucking hit me. I thought we were friends. And I look at him and he says, pull your britches down. And when he said that, dude, I started slugging back with him. So I wasn't real big, man. I couldn't hit hard enough to knock nobody out. But I could wrestle real good. I went state whenever I was a kid, you know, so I have a real good wrestling game. So what I would do is just wrestle with him, man. I'd try to choke him, trying to choke him. And, you know, he'd get loose and hit me a couple times, and then I'd wrestle him back down. After about 15 minutes fighting that cell, we both out of breath, and he's not trying to fuck nobody no more. You know what I'm saying? So we break it up. After 15 minutes, we both tired. We stopped fighting, and he tells me now he wants to be my friend because he has respect for me. Now he respects me. When the fight started, it was get your britches down. Now I respect you. So yeah, someone literally tried to take my ass from me, bro.
Oh yeah.
When I was 17 years old.
Well, I mean, look, I'm sure you come in there, you know, fresh faced, bright-eyed, of course. And these predators are frothing at the mouth, looking to get to you, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I was 5'6" and 135, 140 pounds, no hair on me. And let me tell you, bro, you don't have to go kill somebody to end up in that situation. You can go get drunk and get in a wreck and end up in that situation. You know, fighting for your butt. So they don't play, man. They got these private prisons, man, and it's about money now.
Yeah, it's part of our broken justice system is privatizing.
Yeah.
How the hell do you make a business out of incarcerating people? That's not in what business model does that ever turn out good?
Shit, business is booming.
Business is booming, and there's a reason why. It's sad that our country has the highest incarceration rate of any country across the globe.
And Oklahoma is the highest per capita anywhere in the United States.
Golly, that's got to be frightening to think how easily you could wind up in somebody's prison because they need to fill beds.
They say you come through Oklahoma for vacation and end up staying on probation.
They say that about a lot of places around going, especially in the South.
Yeah.
So what about having to put in some real work on anybody?
Brother, I've tried. Altogether, I stabbed 3 people. I say I try to stab 3 people because one of them, my knife bent, but I did stab him still. One of them, I didn't get very good, so I don't even count it. But yeah, man. Now let me say, when you say put in work, I was watching a video the other day. It was on another guy's channel, and he was interviewing someone the way you were interviewing me. And this guy had done a little time in prison. And he says, yeah, I had to put in some work. I had to go with this other guy, and we wouldn't beat this guy up. Brother, if you've got somebody to help you beat somebody up that's already afraid, that's not putting in work. Putting in work is when you get at a motherfucker bigger than you. You know, get at somebody you ain't sure about. That's putting in work.
Mm-hmm.
So the most extreme one for me started over the TV. There was a guy that lived in our day room that was about 6'2", weighed about 225. His name is Lewis Washington. You can look him up. He's doing a life sentence. He's never getting out. I lived in a unit that was considered a faith unit, okay? Called the faith unit, like religion. People that went to church and stuff, they were in this unit. It was a program. You get good days for going there and going through this program. So almost everybody in this day room, it's only 20 cells in here, so 40 people. And almost everybody in that day room is either child molester, they caught out from another pod and can't go nowhere else. It's kind of a protected unit. And they moved this guy in there, and he's a real bully.
Tell them what caught out means. I know what it means, but most of the people...
Caught out means if you go to the police and tell them that you're afraid and you need them to protect you, that's catching out. So... if the rule on the TV is this, there's 2 TVs in the day room. Usually one is for sports, one is for movies. So like if Monday Night Football is on, that's going to be on one channel. Whoever's out there, though, watching the TV first gets dibs on the TV. If I'm sitting there watching it, you can't come change it, and vice versa. So when we got let out for chow that day, they had hamburgers and tots. And Monday Night Raw was coming on that night. I watch wrestling every week. That's all I would watch. I never tried to sit out there and watch those TVs any other time except for Monday and Friday for wrestling. People come from other pods to sit in my day room because they know I'm going to have wrestling on the TV. And so I don't go eat the hamburger and tots. I eat me a ramen soup for dinner. And I sit there and hold that TV so I can watch wrestling. So this guy got Monday Night Football on the other one, and then the staff member brings a movie and puts it on the little institutional movie channel. There's a little channel that you can put it on. The institution will bring movies sometimes, and this sergeant brings a movie and puts it on. So this black guy that's been bullying everybody in the day room, big old son of a gun that can lift the whole weight pile. Dude, I am not exaggerating. I seen the dude, he lifted 405 pounds. The bar was bent like that, dude. Had so much weight on it.
I believe it.
So this dude, he's going to just try to turn my TV with me sitting there watching it and everyone knowing that I'm watching it. So he ends up turning the other TV, but when he's walking away, he says, if y'all want to watch something else, turn the fucking channel. Don't let that punk decide nothing. So he called me a punk.
Well, and now you have to do something.
Now I have to do something to him. Now I have to do something to him. At this time, I've been locked up about 16, 17 years. I have a reputation for getting a knife because I've got one before a couple times. I have a reputation for it. And now he's called me a punk in front of the whole day room. Now, I had someone on my videos comment and say they really don't understand the deals about prison. So let me tell you that if someone calls you a punk, someone calls you a bitch, a rat, a catch-out, a snitch, someone says any of those words to you, you have an option. You can either hit them now or you can stab them later. But you better, by God, do something. Because if you don't, whatever they said is assumed to be true. And from then on, people are going to take anything you get. Everybody's going to run over you. They will take anything that you happen to stumble upon. Your family sends you some money, they'll take that away from you. They'll leave you. They'll come to your cell. They'll beat you up. They'll take your shit. Whatever your mom sent goes to someone else, and you wear a black eye for getting it. So that's prison politics. Somebody calls you a punk, you got no choice but to do something. So the yard we were on, so the yard we were on, you're in your day room, but there's a rotunda, and there's a bunch of day rooms, AA, AB, AC, AD, AE. It goes all the way to AG. So there's 7 day rooms on each unit. So once an hour, they'll have 5 minutes where you can move to a different day room if you want, and then you're locked back in there for another hour till count time at night when they lock it all down. So this dude calls me a punk, so I didn't say a fucking word, dude. I just stood up, left the day room. Everybody knew I was going to get a knife. So I go to try to get my ice picks. I've got 2 ice picks hidden in the mop closet over there. But the guard stood there and wouldn't let me get my ice pick. So I end up with this piece of shit knife. It's about this big, and it's made out of a light. So how do you make it out of a light? Okay, so the way you make a knife out of a light is you take a pair of toenail clippers and you break them apart. And then you just take that pair of toenails and you scrape that metal over and over and over until you can bend it and break it loose. And then you can sharpen it up and make it into a knife.
A piece of plexiglass from around the light is what you mean.
No, the metal.
Oh, the metal.
Yeah, we'll take the fingernail clippers and scrape that metal until you can bend it. Then we'll break it loose and sharpen it on the concrete in the cell. Wrap around some sheet around it for a handle. Got a little homemade shank. So when I come walking back in the day room, this dude just sitting out there on the couch in his flip-flops, bro. He didn't think I'd do shit. He still got his flip-flops on. He didn't even put his tennies on. Everybody said, man, Rickey Dye's going to get a knife. He's like, he ain't going to do shit. So I come walking in the day room. I got that knife in my hand like this. I got a sweatshirt in my hand so you can't see it. I come walking up there. I walk up to him and I said, hey, brother, man, I ain't never disrespected you. Don't you ever call me a punk again in your life. And if he would have just said, okay, or that, if he would have just let it go, I wouldn't have stabbed him. But instead, he looks up at me, does his mouth like that, says, man, you better get away from me with that bitch ass shit. Man, when he said that, I dropped that sweatshirt and started stabbing the shit out of him. He started screaming, he's got a knife. Somebody help me. He's got a knife. So he was trying to get the black dudes involved, but I had a black dude with me watching my back. And he was like, no, y'all let him go one-on-one. So I ended up stabbing that dude here in the arm. I tried to stab him in the chest, and he turned, and I caught him here in the arm. And it bent my knife. But I didn't know my knife was bent. So I'm still trying to stab him with it. I hit him underneath the arm. I hit him twice in the chest. Hit him one more time up high around his shoulder. So I thought he was really fucked up, dude. There's blood everywhere from his arm. So finally, I got my arms around him like in a bear hug. He grabs a hold of my arm like this with both hands. And he's holding my hand for all he's worth, dude, because I got that knife in this hand. And he kind of takes it and he's got me like this, and I'm hitting him with my left hand, said, let the fucking knife go. Let the motherfucker go. Trying to get my hand loose, but he ain't letting that hand loose, you hear me? So finally, this black dude that was with me comes over and says, hey, man, let me have the knife for the police show up. Because at any time, the police can just look down and see us from the bubble. So he gets the knife. My partner gets the knife and leaves with it. But whenever he gets the knife, they're like, now y'all go ahead. I'm like, go ahead, shit. This big old motherfucker, I would have never brought a knife if I was going to fight, shit. I end up on top of that dude, choking him out, dude. But that was scary, bro. It was scary. Let me tell you that people think, oh, if you get a knife, you just automatically win. But it ain't like that, bro. When you go after somebody with a knife, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to try to run. The other one is they're going to fight for their fucking life. And if they choose that, man, you're in for it, buddy. You better be for real or you'll get that knife took away from you because people got adrenaline when you're after them with a knife.
Mm. And the thing is, that all started over a word. And that's and the reason I like you talking about this stuff. The reason I like you talking about this stuff because they have people that come across these videos and watch these videos. It might be some kid who thinks it's cool to have that reputation that he's been to prison or he's a tough guy.
And it's not. It don't mean shit.
Over a word. Now, somebody, and that's another thing about coming out after being institutionalized for so many years. People say that shit all the time on the street.
Yes, bitch, punk.
Shut up, bitch. Punk.
And out here, there's no consequences for your actions out here.
None, because you can't.
Yeah, you can't even threaten. Can't even threaten to.
No.
So it was a shock to me, bro, to go from a place where I have no choice but to fight over the least little thing because of what everyone else might think about me. And then come out here in a place where I'm not allowed to even threaten to fight. It's a real shock for me.
Well, and here's something that obviously is implied in your stories is that your reputation is everything. You got to be in there for 20 years. You don't want to have to be fighting every day, all the time, getting your shit taken. And so you got to make an example out of people. And you got to show them that you ain't going to tolerate that shit. That there's going to be a consequence immediately.
You know what? When I first would go in there, bro, I've been in over 60 fights. I know. And a lot of them fights, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't hit hard enough to knock nobody out. But I was real good at wrestling and I didn't smoke. So I would just keep wrestling with them until they were tired and then we would end up stop fighting, But after I had been locked up for about 4 or 5 years and I realized I'm going in the cell with these guys, they're hitting me a few times, then I wrestle them down Then the fight's over, but they don't have no marks on them, and I got marks on me. It looks like I lost. So what I started doing was, once I choke them out, I headbutt them in the face 3 times. Once I choke them out, you headbutt them in the face 3 times. They come out of there with 2 black eyes and a broke nose, and they don't know how that shit happened because they were unconscious, and it scares the shit out of them. And then everybody leave you alone because they say, "Well, look at that dude that he got in a fight with." And you've got to do that. You've got to make your mark, or like you said, just going to get your shit took over and over and over.
Well, and that's, you see people watching this who have no experience with that might think of like, that is fucking insane. That's the levels of violence that you have to go through just to keep a semi-normal day-to-day life while you're locked up.
Yeah.
And then how insane it seems, that's just a normal Tuesday in prison.
Yeah, that was just a day over the TV. Argument over the TV. Things happen all the time. Happens, brother, I've seen it happen over a microwave, you know, over the showers. Who wants the last shower before lockdown? Anything that people have to share. And you can't let anyone get away with anything. You know, out here you might be talking to somebody and they might say something sarcastic and you just kind of let it go. Well, in prison, if someone does that, says something sarcastic, you got to put it in check. You can't let it go. The difference is in here and out here. Out here, if you get into it with someone, you never have to see that person again. But in prison, you have to see them again tomorrow and every day after that. So there's nowhere to go. You're in constant, like out here, if I got into it with my neighbors next door, there's a good chance I could stay away from them. We're not sharing a microwave and a TV. But in prison, you can't stay away from your neighbor. So
no, you're in
my phone just hit 10%.
Proximity. Well, we're about to wrap up. Real quick, tell us about what's the worst thing you've seen in there. Give us a quick one on that.
Bro, I seen someone kill another guy, stomped him to death over a homosexual. So for me, that one guy was the run man, and another guy, they were in DU. All of us were in DU. One guy was the run man. What that means is everybody in DU is locked down. That's the solitary confinement unit, the segregated housing unit. Somebody, if you've got in trouble, if you got a DUA, battery, or whatever, they lock you up while you're locked up already. You go to DU, you're in the hole. So we're all down there in the hole. But what they do is they pick one person out each meal to come out and hand the trays out, right? So when they did the showers, this one guy's locked in a cell. He rigs his door where he can push his door open whenever chow time comes, because the rum man is the one he's going to try to kill. And he had a little shank in his cell. So when this guy comes by passing out the tea, he busts out his cell and starts trying to shank him. So when he starts trying to shank him, the dude drops the tea jug. The guy with the shank slips and falls down. Whenever he did, the guy doing the tea had boots on, dude, and he just started kicking him in the head. That shank didn't do him no good, bro. He stomped his brains in, killed him right there on the run. And that was over a homosexual.
You saw that?
Yeah, I was watching from my window, watching from my cell door. I was watching him fight, but I didn't know it was going to kill him, you know. But you never know when you get someone on the ground, start kicking them in the head, what's going to happen.
So what is the lasting effects that you have to deal with now that you've spent 20 years of your life? You've grown up into an adult and spent part of your adulthood in prison. How has that affected you long-term out in society?
Oh, man, it affects me in every way, bro. Let me tell you that I'm still paying every day for the crime I committed when I was 15 years old. I have night terrors, and I have them all the time. I would say 2 to 3 nights a week. I wake up shaking, swinging, my heart thumping. I had to put, me and my wife, when we go to bed, we have to put body pillows between us so I don't hurt her. I've woke up in another room swinging. I have problems when I go out into society getting along with people. Say I go get a job. Well, I'm a real likable guy, man. For the first 2 weeks, it goes great, and everyone there loves me. And then one day I go in, I get in the wrong mood, and I snap, and I get mad. And once they see me mad, they see that monster, they can never forget it. And they don't want to work around me. They're afraid to work around me. So go tell the boss they're scared to work with me. So because of that, I'm on disability, man. I can never have nothing in life as long as I'm on disability. But I can't get along with people in public because things are so much different for me now than what they were the whole time I was growing up. You know, I had my mom tell me, Ricky, it's been 15 years, son. But people don't realize I'm still having those nightmares. It's still the same for me. That day when that man called me a punk in that day room and I stabbed him for it, I would do that again today. And I'm not proud of that. I don't want to say that I would do that, but I know I would, because I would get mad. I would feel a need to defend myself. I would care too much about what everyone thought. I would care too much that old Joe would think I was a bitch if I didn't do nothing. See, it really screwed my head up. Even though I realize that that thinking is wrong, I have to sit down and consciously talk my way through it. I have to talk myself through these situations to keep from getting in trouble. Because if not, I'll be out there acting like an idiot, and I'll go right back just like they thought I would anyway. So the chances were around 40%, they said, that I would be back within the first 6 months. It went up to 80% at a year. And at 5 years, it was a 90% chance that I would go back to prison. Because I went in there as a kid, and I was in all the worst places, and they never staggered me down. I went home from solitary confinement, brother. My wife was a guard at the last prison I was at. We got caught talking on the phone. They put me in solitary confinement. They fired her. So the last 7 days I was locked up was in medium security and solitary confinement. And I went straight from that to walking around Walmart, brother. And if you think that wasn't a culture shock, man.
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine having to reacclimate to society, especially society today, where people are so disrespectful and don't care about anybody else or anything around them. So I know we're out of time here. I'd love to have
my phone's about to die, bro. Yeah, my phone's going to die.
What about a part 2? You in for that?
Yeah, we can do that sometime.
Okay,
sure.
Good. So tell us, what's your underlying message? Like, what's your channel about? What are you trying to convey? What do you want people to know?
So if you've been kind of listening to tonight, then you kind of got the gist of it, I think. But the main thing is people wonder what happens to kids when they go to prison. What happens to them after that? What happens while they're in prison? What happens when you let them back out? And so that's been my message. And my message is this. If you're young, if you're still in the house with your mama and daddy, right now that you've got a little time while they're taking care of all the bills, you've got a little time right now to soak it all up, because before long you're going to be 18 and it's all going to be on you. So take this little bit of time you've got and listen to your parents. Put up with the bullshit. Go to school. Get good grades so you can get a good job, because it only takes one mistake to ruin the rest of your life. And that's what my channel is all about, brother.
I love it. I love the message. And that's essentially why I have you on, because I wanted you to be able to tell your message. And the reason the stories are so important is because they're real. It's that's what the reality of life is, locked up. And I'll get into that more on the next live stream, and get more into the opinions of the mental health care system, the correctional, the Department of Corrections, and how off everything is. And look, man, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thank you for having me on, Joe.
To Rickey's channel. Yes, thank you, man. The honor is all mine. And I'm gonna put a link to his channel in the description of the video, and definitely stay tuned for part 2. This is gonna be and so remember, hit that like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give Rickey a follow. And I'd suggest you keep up with his content. It's interesting and it has a great underlying message. And like I said, I'm gonna link his channel in the description below. So thank y'all everybody for coming in. Thank you, Rickey, again, and we'll see y'all.
Thank you, brother. You have a good night. Peace out.
You too, man. Peace.